Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? From deputies on patrol, forensics, to some of our cold cases and how some of our officers give back to the community. We'll share stories from the hard-working men and women who serve the citizens of York County. This is YCSO Behind the Badge, the official podcast of the York County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Badge, the official podcast of the York County Sheriff's Office. Again, each week we hope to bring you an inside look at the York County Sheriff's Office, revealing the multitude of untold stories of how our officers give back to the community. All stories from your neighbors, the hardworking men and women who serve the citizens of York County, people just like you. Hi, I'm Trent Ferris, the Public Information Officer for the York County Sheriff's Office and your host for the next 30 minutes or so. And before we move on, please go check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where you can also listen to this podcast there. But if you're listening to it on a podcasting service, we're on the Anchor podcasting service, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, and Spotify, to name a few. Lastly, do us a favor and sign up for those Notify Me alerts straight to your phone and email at yorkcountysheriff.com. You just go right down to the middle of the page. You'll see a whole bunch of squares, and they'll have top 10 list, the red, all these alerts. So one of them says Notify Me. Click on that. Sign up for those today. On this edition of Behind the Badge, we're going to talk to the man who is in charge of who's hired and sometimes who's fired at the York County Sheriff's Office. He is Lieutenant Lee Stoneburner, and he is the lieutenant over Office of Professional Standards, which in some TV terms, folks may understand the term IA, Internal Affairs, but we call it Office of Professional Standards because we're professionals here at the York County Sheriff's Office. And Lieutenant, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Man, it's glad to have you here because I'm sure this is going to be one of those topics that people who are looking to get into law enforcement and wanting a little bit behind the badge here of how do you get hired. But first, before we start that, tell us about Lee Stoneburner, the guy before Lieutenant.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I guess back in 1998 is when this all started for me here at the York County Sheriff's Office. Did the same thing anybody else would do, apply, go through the interview process and polygraphs and psychological tests and all the fun stuff, and led to getting to go to the Criminal Justice Academy and coming out, going through FTO, where did what anybody else would do, go to uniform patrol, which was a great time. A lot of fun, a lot of excitement, a lot of paperwork, but overall was a really good time period in my career, a lot of fun. Moved on, got the opportunity to do traffic enforcement, which was very interesting. That's when math class came back to play. Through high school, math was not my thing. I wanted to be a police officer, and then went to the traffic team where you had to start doing traffic reconstruction and radar, and different things started coming into play, and math all of a sudden came to become important again. And so that was an interesting time. Went back to uniform patrol for a little bit before coming into professional standards, and I've been doing that for quite some time. Everywhere, started as a deputy in the unit, and then moved to the sergeant, and then moved on up to lieutenant in the last year. So only been doing that a few months, but it's been an interesting time to be promoted to lieutenant during everything going on in the world. And so it's given some opportunities to try to get through some hurdles and things.
Right.
But a really good time. And on a specialized side, the great thing about the sheriff's office, what I've liked is you get the opportunity to do different things. And through that, I spent some time as a diver on the dive team, and now I'm on the mounted patrol. And get to ride the horse a little bit, not as much as I used to since the promotion, but you'll have that. But it's still great to do it, and been a great opportunity provided to me by the sheriff, and will be forever grateful for the opportunity. Not many people get to. There's only a few that get to say they were police officers, then there's a very few of those who get to say they were a police officer and got to do so on the back of a horse.
Well, so, years ago, there were no patrol cars.
That's where it all started.
You got to get on the back of a horse.
Absolutely. So, and there's probably not anything out there that's a bigger crowd pleaser
Oh, yeah.
So
that they are the biggest hit there is.
Yeah, love doing it.
And we'll bring Mark Mccarter, who is over the Mounted Patrol Unit. Maybe bring you back in here and talk about that in a future podcast.
He's an amazing individual, a true horseman.
That's right.
So he would be neat to listen to.
So 1998. You don't like math, so how many years is that?
Going on, I'm in the middle of 22.
22 years.
Yes.
Wow. So, 22 years ago, you said in high school, you said, this is what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
Was that just what it was? Like some kids grow up, I want to be an astronaut.
No,
I want to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah, I would say definitely since about 9th or 10th grade, that was all there was to it.
Mm-hmm.
I got to grew up in Gastonia and just across the state line, and went to Hunter Huss, and the Gastonia City Police Department had an Explorer post, and I did that through high school until I went to Carowinds to be a security officer, and moved to South Carolina to work for the York County Sheriff's Office.
Awesome. So it was always in the game plan.
Absolutely.
So you had to go through the hiring process 22 years ago.
Yes.
And so you are in charge of the hiring process now. So tell folks who are looking to get into law enforcement, whether hopefully here with us, the hiring process. What does it take to get here at the York County Sheriff's Office?
Well, the process as a whole is we've got it detailed out. If you went to the website, it's mapped out as like a 14-step process, which sounds like a lot. But some of those processes, some of those marked in there are evaluations where we're evaluating applications and things like that. So it's not fully 14 steps you're going through. But it starts with applying online. It can't be any simpler. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whenever it's convenient for you. You fill out the application, and we'll make it happen from there. Once we get that application, we'll review it, make sure you've met all the immediate qualifications as far as having a high school diploma, U.S. citizen, things like that. And we'll send you back a background packet. It's about 23 pages, 24 pages. That's where you're going to get high school diplomas. You're going to get copies of transcripts. You're going to get college stuff. You're going to get us copies of all your major IDs, and put all that together. You're going to put your references in there, all your work references. This is building a profile of who you are.
And 23 pages may sound scary, but it's not.
It's not. It's a lot of fill in the blank and yes or no's. And I'll be honest, if you were in the military, there's some pages there that apply to you specifically. If you weren't in the military, then you're going to make a block and you're going to flip 2 pages and pick up from there. It's not as bad as it sounds. My advice to you is when you fill it out, photocopy it. Don't send us the only copy. And that way it's a lot of information that'll help you throughout your career. There's a lot of times I went back to my packet when I first came to the sheriff's office. I was applying for different positions like the traffic team and things like that, where that packet actually gave me some of the information that I needed to do my internal application.
A cheat sheet of sorts.
So absolutely. And so we get that, we'll review it, get you vetted in, get you in for a testing process. And during testing we do a PT test. We do a writing test where you actually write a scenario. There's 46 video-based what would you do next type questions, and reading skills test and things like that are built into it. And that it takes probably about 3 to 4 hours to complete the whole testing day.
Okay.
And because you do have the PT built in there as well. And then you'll go into the interview process.
Well, let's back up real quick. People think PT, the physical fitness test.
Yes.
Right? And
absolutely.
To go into that a little bit, what is that before people get scared and say, "Oh, nope, I'm out"?
Yeah, it's an obstacle course, and the obstacle course is you're gonna probably overall it's about 300 meters, maybe just a little bit beyond that, and you're gonna go over some low hurdles, go up and down stairs, go under a hurdle, and do a 6-foot jump. You'll go over a 4-foot fence, through a window. Drag 100, of sorts. Pull 150, drag a 150-pound dummy, and then you do another lap around it. The great thing about it's kind of like our written testing. I think if you take our written testing and you take our physical abilities test, which is set by the academy, everything you're doing is 100% law enforcement related.
Right.
And so I think the applicants, when they come through, I think if you asked them, they felt like they were testing to be a police officer. It's got that feel to it. Everything's kind of built around it. I can tell you there's probably very few people that have any time in their career that there is any part of that obstacle course that they have not done.
Right.
So
now, what's the time frame you got to do it? I've done it, but tell folks out there how fast do you have to do this in to qualify?
Got to be 2 minutes and 6 seconds or faster.
Okay. So to give people a reference, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'1", about 270, and last year I did it in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Right.
So it's not hard.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy. I do exercise, but it's not hard.
Right. Yeah. The average, most people get in there between the 140 to 150 mark. It's probably what I'd consider average.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely doable.
It's easy, actually. I mean, it's not easy. Excuse me. It's easy to do it.
Right.
Just don't get scared jumping through the window.
Right. Yeah. Just commit to it and get through it.
That's right. Okay. So the testing. Go back to the testing. We talked about the testing all is in the reading and everything.
Correct. We do a reading comprehension test, which is one of the requirements of the academy that we give that.
You got to read.
We have to be able to do that. The writing test is because we do so many incident reports.
Right.
So we need to make sure we have a base level. And once we get through that, then we can get you to the interview board. And we try, I'm not going to say we always, but we try to do interviews the same day. And usually we get at least a few through, so that way, if you pass your testing and you pass your interview, you're moving straight into the background phase, which is where we pull that packet and we start looking at who they are.
Okay. And then the interview, is that in front of how many people? Just you or who, a captain or what?
It actually goes before the captain's review board, which can be up to 4 captains.
So that could be intimidating.
It can be for some, but I think once they get in there, they find that, we have a great group of administrators, a great group of captains, and, they're truly trying to look at the people and they truly want to learn about them. And I think once you get in there, you'll probably find out it's not as bad as you maybe had built up to it being.
Well, so you go into the interview, go see the captains. Captains give you the thumbs up. What happens next?
We got the background process. And that's where we're going to call all your past employers. We're going to call those personal references. We're going to be on your social media sites.
What?
We're going to look at your credit. We're going to look at everything about you and try to determine if you're a good fit for the sheriff's office. On the other side of that, you as the applicant, you need to look at the sheriff's office. Look at what we stand for, Look at, talk to our officers. Find out if we're a good fit for you. If you're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you, then you should be somebody who 22, 25 years later sitting here and still motoring forward.
You might be on the podcast 25
Absolutely.
years.
Yep.
I won't be here, but I'm just but anyhow, okay, so background goes good. Your past employer said, yeah, you need to hire that guy, and you're good. So what happens next?
Then we'll go into a psychological. You get a conditional offer first, and that's just saying that we're going to offer you a position provided you can pass the rest of the required steps. And that's where it gets really important. Not that the first half didn't, but in the second half, we're going to do a psychological. And that's where you're going to go and you're going to fill out some packets. You're going to meet and have an interview with the psychologist, and they'll issue a report back to us. You'll go do your polygraph. You'll do your drug screening. There's a part 2 of the packet where it's going to ask you some more personal questions. It'll actually start asking you a little bit about your family and finances and medical conditions and things like that, just enough to make sure that you can pass a fit for duty physical, which is the last thing that you do. And that, again, it's a South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy standard that when we're hiring people, they have to meet a certain standard so that we know that they can perform the duties of the job.
So you pass all this. Does that include the polygraph, or is the polygraph after?
The polygraph is right about the same time as the psychological.
So
the fit for duty physical will be your last thing.
So you got to sit in there. Everybody thinks polygraph. They're going to find out everything. I mean, it could be intimidating. So how does that go for folks who are listening?
Basically you'll go in, you'll sit down with the polygraph examiner, and he's going to give you another booklet. So you're going to get to fill in some more blanks. A lot of writing. And you're going to go through your entire history, and he'll go over that and set the criteria, and then he'll take you into the room and put you on the instrument and ask you some questions, and it's easy to pass. All you got to do is tell the truth. So as long as you tell the truth, there's no way to fail it.
That's true. That's right. Ding ding.
It's an open book test. It's the only one we give.
And the only one who can answer the questions correctly.
That's right. Only you know.
Wow. So, boom, you pass all that. Then what happens?
Then we'll set a hire date. You'll come into the sheriff's office and go over and make a special trip to Human Resources. They'll sign you up for the paycheck and all your benefits and retirements and insurance and all the good things that come with the job. And then you'll report back to the training center and you'll start getting ready. And basically the training staff will have, they run a special class. We put all of our new hires through it, and it takes you through your preliminary stuff, everything from your firearms to your defensive tactics training, getting you ready to do the first 4 weeks of the academy, which you do in-house now. And so you'll take your first 4 weeks. When you get done with that, they'll schedule you to go down to take your test for the academy. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to take a test on those first 4 weeks. And when you pass that test, then you kind of move over to the PT test. So that same obstacle course that we gave you at the beginning, you're going to have to go down and do that for the academy. When you pass that, then you go over and they're going to give you your dates to attend the academy. Then you can go down, you'll do your 8 weeks physically in Columbia at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, which ends with getting to walk across the stage and getting your law enforcement certificate, and returning to the sheriff's office to start your field training officer program, which is the next 12 weeks of your life, where you'll be in a patrol car, and we have a great group of FTOs, and the field training officers will teach you everything from the paperwork to processing to investigation skills to just how to get out of the car and go talk to people, and the in and outs of the job, how to patrol, how to do things, because it's not it's a little more than what you think. It's not just riding around in a car. It's riding around in a car, learning how to identify things that don't look normal, learning your area, learning just learning the roads. Being a guy that wasn't from York County, learning the roads was a big part of my field training program. And so you'll do all of that. At the end of the FTO, you're going to take another test, and we're going to make sure you learn the things that you were taught. And you'll go through an oral board interview with FTO managers and a captain. And when you successfully complete that, then our uniform patrol captain will issue you an assignment as far as where you're going to go and patrol. And you'll finally be in that car by yourself. And
you're in.
Doing what we do.
Yeah, see. Now, that's a lot. It's a lot to digest for anybody who's sitting here just thinking, okay, I want to go into law enforcement. And they're thinking, oh, man, the list keeps growing. So give a time frame. Say I am straight out of college. I'm hired on this date. How long does it take to get to that time? You know, including all the weeks of FTO and the academy and everything, the process, the hiring process.
I would say in today's world, start to finish, you may be close to a year. And that's just because, the academy can't run the size classes that it was. It can't run as many classes as they were. And they're doing like everybody else because of the virus. They're trying to make sure everybody's healthy and everybody's going through safely. And so it hasn't slowed us down to a crawl, but it has slowed us down. So
is that wouldn't be to discourage anybody?
No.
I mean, because if you're really wanting to get into the job, you're putting in the work to get into the job.
Absolutely.
Into the career.
Absolutely.
So say you're working at a factory somewhere and you're thinking about this. Can people still work there and do the hiring process and everything?
Through the hiring process, absolutely.
Yeah.
We work with them on that. We work with scheduling and try to offer as many different opportunities to do the testing. The testing is kind of set, but if we give you a date and that doesn't work, then we'll move you to the next one.
Yes.
And we'll try to make it work.
Well, good.
The interviews are usually the day of, so that way, that's why we designed it that way, and we try to do it that way, is to keep you from having to miss another day of work. And same thing with the psychological and the polygraphs. we have a little bit of a window to work with, so we try to be open to the fact that you're working and doing that sort of thing.
Providing for family and
absolutely, because that's vital. Live. What we wouldn't want somebody to do is to lie to their current employer about where they're at.
Right.
So, we'd rather you take a vacation day or something and not call in and say you're sick when you're not sick, because that's not something we'd want our employees doing.
Right.
So we're respectful to your employer and trying to work to get you into a new career field, and at the same time understand that you're in one currently. So we can balance the two.
Good.
Once you get hired, then the great thing is whether it takes a month to get you to the academy or it takes you to 7 months to get in the academy, we're paying you.
Bingo.
So you've got the job. Your retirement has started. Time is clicking off. So it's good time. It's counted time, and so it's working towards your retirement goal. So that's that's a logistical issue we have administratively, but for you yourself, it's not going to affect you because you're still drawing your paycheck. You're coming to work. We will have somewhere for you to go, something for you to do, and make the best of it.
Now, this is for somebody who has no law enforcement experience.
Correct.
They're coming straight out of a job or whatever. So now we have a good program in which you have a crossover, like you're already certified. You've done all this at another agency.
Sure.
Talk about that a little bit, how, we hire other law enforcement officers if they're looking to move from agency.
Absolutely. There's things that maybe we offer that other people don't, or maybe it's the area. We have some people that have moved into our area because their husbands or wives have jobs that need to work in Charlotte, and this is where they get transferred to. Or we have we have some things that maybe other agencies don't. We have the bloodhounds, and we have the dive team, the mounted, the bike patrols, the detective divisions and stuff. So with that, there are some good officers at locations that maybe do want to move here. And when they do, what we do is we abbreviate the testing because they've already been to the academy, so they've already done some reading tests. They've done some stuff prior to that. And so we give them credit for that. They'll do a writing test, and they'll do the physical fitness test. So whereas a non-certified person might be here for 4.5, 5 hours for the day, a South Carolina certified officer is only going to be here for about 2 hours. And that's including the interview, paperwork, everything, in and out the door. So we try to make it a little easier. The rest of the process remains the same.
Okay.
And we do that because it's important to us to vet good people and make sure, our number one goal is to take care of our citizens. And we have to ensure that every person we put in a patrol car to serve the people, that they truly are here for the right reasons, doing the job for the right reasons, and that they're going to do the job the proper way.
We do get a question all the time on Facebook and our emails that come in. Hey, I'm an officer from Florida, or I'm an officer from North Carolina, right across the state line. What do I need to do? I've got all this training. How do I get there if I want to transfer to South Carolina?
An out-of-state transfer is going to work the same as basically somebody without any experience. You're going to go through the entire testing, and that's only because every state is different in what they ask their people to be able to do to come into their academy. So what we do is we have to reset because you're not in South Carolina. You haven't been to our academy. So we put them back into the regular process, but because you have law enforcement, you're going to be priority. Because you're traveling, we're going to meet the needs and put as much stuff together as we can to keep your trips to a minimal, including before I've seen captains and do virtual meetings and virtual conditional offers and things so that they don't have to come here just to have a meeting. So we try to meet that need. And I know it sounds like it's a lot still to have to go to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we'll turn around and give you credit back in our advancement process.
Oh, yeah.
So once you come to work here, if you've got 4 years experience, then in our career advancement program, we'll give you that 4 years. It counts. You're a police officer. You're a certified working police officer. So on the paycheck side, it may come back to help you greatly.
So there you go. That's what all counts. And you get a little. You don't just start as a deputy,
Right.
and you get some. You get a little bit of rank, with your experience at whatever level that is.
You can, yeah, depending on how much time you have, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. So is it a struggle to find all these people? I mean, do you have a lot of people applying? Do we have a lot of people applying, or is it one of those where you have to hit the recruiting trail, which is hard right now with COVID-19 and such?
The recruiting trails are hard right now. I know a lot of places are getting going on virtual career fairs and doing different things. So we're going to enter some of those and see how it goes. We do have applications coming in. I don't know, maybe not as many as we have in years past, but probably more than what people would expect. I think even with the way times are, there's a lot of good people, and they want to make a difference, and they want to come in, and they want to do the job for the right reasons. And I think if you truly want to be a police officer, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. It just kind of gets your drive even more, because you're like, man, I really want to get in there because I want to be the guy showing people that we do this for the right reasons, and we are here to help people, and we are here to protect, and we're here to serve. And I think that's coming out. I think there's some people that are putting their applications in and maybe doing it now more than maybe they wouldn't have done it a year ago.
Right.
Maybe they're doing it now because they're like, you know what, I'm gonna go give my effort in making this difference.
Because I remember, it was a couple of years ago, the Dallas police chief, when they're having some controversy in Dallas, Texas, he gets at a press conference, says, serve. If you want to be the change, serve. We're hiring.
Absolutely.
And what better way to do it than be a law enforcement officer and change whatever you think needs to be changed, right?
Well, and that's the thing that you got to do is if you really want to put some effort in and you really want to get out here and say, I want to do something, apply.
Do it.
Come to work for us, and that way you can go out there and you can handle the calls and you can be a part of the process. And, the York County Sheriff's Office, it's, the working atmosphere is just unreal. We are a great agency for somebody who wants to do this and still have a family and still have a life. I'm blessed that I've been here for 22 years, but, I take as much pride as the fact that I'm a dad. I've got one playing soccer at a college. I've got one that's working for the college he's going to, and I've got a daughter coming up. She does cheerleading and involved in different things, and that's my life. I got a beautiful wife at home, and I come in and I do my job, but I'm excited to go home to be with my family.
Right.
And I work for a sheriff, and I work for an agency that says it's God, family, then work.
Right.
And as long as I keep them in that order, it's not going to mess up.
Right.
And that's why I've been here for 22 years. I've stayed true to that. I go to my kids' events. I go to the school stuff. Now, I've not made it to every one.
Right.
There's things that have come up. I've had, when I was on dive team, I know there was a birthday party. We were getting ready to go one of my kids' birthday parties, and the text came out and had to go to a dive call.
Right.
And, but as soon as it was over, I made it back to it. And so you learn to adjust to it. But we have a schedule that you will have time with your family.
And I can vouch for that, too, because whenever something's happened, the major who was my supervisor and the sheriff, they would say, go do that first, then do the job. Family first, then the job. So, yeah, that is a true statement.
Yes, absolutely it is. And I think that's why so many people have been here for so many years. I mean, you look at the sheriff's office and you start saying, well, why do you have openings? Well, we get some new positions that required some new openings. But we've had a lot of retirements. And that's people with 25 to 30 some years working here at the York County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
My lieutenant that trained me and kind of raised me up in the professional standards. He was here for over 30 years, and he was a great man and taught me so many great things and taught me balance, and he was one of those that he taught me balance your work with your family. Make sure you keep them both. Don't let work take away from your family life.
Right.
And so he was a big advocate on that, and I think it carries over in the way we recruit, because we want people to come here We want you to work hard when you're at work. We want you to be all in when it's time. And when you go home, that's your family time. Be with your family. Now, you still represent the sheriff's office in that.
Right.
You know, we have take-home cars. We have things that, so yeah, I mean,
Got
my
that
home,
car in the driveway.
yeah, I mean, everybody in my neighborhood knows where I work, so it's important how I conduct myself. But again, as long as I'm keeping it in that proper order, there's not going to be any conflicts.
No problem.
And
wow. So you go out on the recruiting trail. You go to, not necessarily high schools because you have to be 21 before you can apply. So, but you go to college recruiting fairs. You do the virtual fairs like that. But there's a good way in which for folks who are maybe in high school or younger looking to say, I might want to do that. And you touched on it a little bit a while ago back in Gaston County with the Explorers program. We have a similar program here that if some student in high school is looking to get into law enforcement, they can test the water, so to speak. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we have a program called the Public Safety Cadets, and it runs through our unit, Professional Standards Unit, and it's for people between the ages of 15 and 21. And basically what it does is it brings them in the door, and they get to see some of the training, and they get mentored by officers. We have several deputies that volunteer their time to come in, and we have a camp. I call it a camp. It's not a camp. It's an academy, and we go to the North Carolina Criminal Justice Academy for a week, and they go through a 1 week boot camp to show them what the academy life is like. They get to, it's 5 a.m. wake ups, it's PT in the morning, it's marching, it's taking classes, taking tests, and doing hands-on in the afternoons, and it's a great way to get a look at what academy life's going to be like. It's very true to it, and so we offer that to them. We also have a thing we go to that it's all about fun. It's a competition, and we call it Survival Weekend, and we meet with all kinds of different cadet and explorer posts, and we compete against each other, and everything from races to relays to traffic stop competitions and seeing how they do stuff. But the idea is it gives you an in-depth look from the inside of what law enforcement is. Not everybody that comes through it goes into law enforcement, and that's fine. You don't have to come into it and sign a contract saying, I'm going to be a police officer.
Right.
You can come into it. We've had people come into it, and they go off and do other things. I know we've had some go be paramedics, and some do firefighting, and some just go back to the civilian world and just have good jobs. At the end of the day, what we ask of all of our cadets is when you leave, just be a good, productive citizen.
Right. We have two of those good, productive citizens that work for us now.
We have
who are graduates of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some great officers here that do it, and then there's people like me that didn't do it, the cadets here, but we did it in other agencies, and brought that training with us and that thought process. So yeah, it helped. It helped assure me that I was going to school for the right thing.
Right.
So while I was working on getting a degree in criminal justice, I had done the explorers, and I had got to be around the officers, and I also grew up with it. My father was a police officer, so I'm a second generation, so I had a little more insight than others. But it put it in concrete.
Good.
And it made the choice, and so that way I knew I was in the right direction. I didn't have to wait until I walked in the door to go, well, am I really going to like it? I knew what the job was. I knew that there were things that, being a police officer, it's not always exciting. You have days where, I've had days where I think all I did all day was just take incident reports over this telephone.
Yeah.
But it was needed, and that's part of serving our citizens. And, I've done different things out there in the field that some people would say, man, is that even police work? It is, because it's serving the citizens.
Bingo.
And we build that starting in the cadets. We do public service things, and we try to get them in the thought process of, if you serve people and you're out in the street and you're serving them, then you're going to protect them.
Right.
So as long as you keep that there, you can fulfill both. But the service side probably will lead to more protection than anything. So as long as you keep that in mind, and you actually get out there and you look at it from that aspect, and you're talking to the people, and I mean truly talking to them, not just a cheap hello or just a passing by, but you actually take time to go and talk to your citizens and talk to the people in their yards, or you go into a convenience store and you talk to those people in there, you'll see the difference in how you can protect, because you're going to have people that are going to talk to you. Mm-hmm. When you go out and you deal with these people and you talk to them from a human side, they want to come back to you and talk to you. And that's where we start building that, is in the cadets, trying to get them to learn that aspect of, we're going to serve. As we're serving, we'll protect.
Awesome. Well, good. So if a parent's listening right now and they say, I want my son or daughter to do that, just go to the website?
I would just go to the website, and there's a name. My name's on there. You can click on it. You can click on Corporal Kelly Lovelace's name. She can get you there, and we'll be glad to get you moving. Good.
So, wow. 30 minutes just blew by. We're a little bit over, but always we ask the last thing, advice to any new officer, since we talked about this, any new officer and or somebody who is thinking about getting to law enforcement. What's that one thing that you would tell them advice-wise on how to start this career and have a good long 22 some odd year career in law enforcement?
I would say keep your priorities straight. Mm-hmm. Make sure you come in here and know that it's God, family, and work. Make sure you understand that you're here to serve, and it doesn't matter what anybody's background is. I don't care if you live in $1 million house. I don't care if you live in a car. I don't care if you're homeless. In York County, every York County deputy is going to treat everybody with respect and professionalism, and that's what we expect out of every person coming in the door. So as long as you do that and you serve, and you truly go out and you serve the people every single day, there's no way you're not successful in this career.
I mean, Sheriff Tolson says it at every swearing in. The one thing, respect.
Absolutely.
Respect everybody.
You should always be respectful and responsible.
And then it's written on the wall in our training room over here down the hall.
Absolutely.
Respect. Big words, respect.
Absolutely.
So if you have that, you should be good. Wow. Well, there you go. Thank you, Lieutenant Stoneburner, for joining us. I know it seems like we covered a lot, but I'm sure everybody listening probably is enjoying how to figure out how to, if they're deciding and choosing on what they want to do. That was a good help. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you for having us.
And before we go, hey, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where you can listen to the podcast there. But if you're listening to podcasting, we're on the Anchor service, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, Spotify, just to name a few. And lastly, sign up for those notify me alerts straight to your phone and email at yorkcountysheriff.com. And thank you again, and we'll see you next time on YCSO Behind the Badge.